Hey there, it's Marianne from Thrive Admin Services, and in this video I'm going to be introducing you to a function inside Microsoft Teams that allows you to produce a transcript based on the spoken word in the meeting. Now we're going to look at 3 different ways that you can use your transcript after the meeting's finished to help you work more efficiently and productively in the rest of your day. So let's get started. So the first way we can look at using our transcript is to create the basis for our meeting minutes. So if you host a meeting like a board meeting, a committee meeting, a project meeting, and you've got lots of people in there, there's always one person designated to take the minutes, and that means they have their head down, they're frantically trying to capture everything they can hear and make sure that they've not only captured the big important decisions, but some of those little details that are really important, particularly for people who don't make it to the meeting live. Now, by using your transcript, what you've got is a record of everything everybody said. So rather than having to take down notes of everything that's going on, you can make some key points, you can note down who's responsible for something or a particular date or important note that you definitely want to capture, and you can use the transcript as your basis to make sure that all of the other content is captured correctly. So you should still have someone taking some notes in the session, but you shouldn't be relying solely on them. You can use that transcript as another record to verify and check all of that detail. The next way that we can look at using our transcript is that it's a font of amazing knowledge and information. So if you are working with a project or with a client or with a group coaching session and you take a transcript, what you can do is use that to produce blog posts and social media posts. All of the information is there. The information you gave, the knowledge you shared, the questions that were asked by the people in the group, these are all amazing ways to find out what your audience wants to know and the information that you can share in lots of different ways. One of the things we really struggle with in business generally is how to repurpose content, and there are lots of people who will talk to you about the ways you can do that. But sometimes it's about having the content in the first place to be able to pull that from. So a transcript is a great way to do that. Rather than having to potentially do some research or get in touch with people or ask for testimonials or create case studies, what you can do is use the information that you have, and you can then create a story that uses a fictional client or project, however you want to term it. You can replace names, you can talk about what they were asking about, what they were struggling with, and you've got all of that written down for you without having to pick it out of your brain. It's sitting right there. You can use exact words, which means that it's the language of the people that you want to talk to. So it saves you loads of time. And if you've got someone who does that sort of stuff for you, whether it's a VA or a social media specialist, or you've got a marketing contact who works with your website copy or your social media or your blog posts, whatever it is that you're producing, it's a brilliant way to give them a basis to say, I want to create a blog post that talks about this section, or I've got this snippet and I want to turn it into a social media post. Can you create a caption based on that? So it gives you all of that base information that you can then take and use in lots of different ways. The third way that you can be using your transcript is to help make your meetings and your content and your information sharing more accessible to the people in your organization or involved in the particular project or department. So if you have someone who is hard of hearing, video can be really tricky for them. So a Teams meeting where there's lots of people talking, there's a bit of static, there's a bit of a lag, that can be a real issue. Also, if you've got people who are readers typically and aren't as visual, they're not as engaged, you might have people who would rather read a blog post than watch a YouTube video. You will always come across these in lots of different sections. Whenever you bring a group of people together, you need to adapt and have different options so that everybody gets the most accessible and inclusive way of participating. So a transcript is a brilliant way to be able to share that information in a different format with someone else that may appeal to their way of learning. So you can do it by sharing the link from your Teams meeting and attaching the transcript. You can convert it into a document, you can put it on your letterhead, you can PDF it, you can pop it up as a private blog post or a message in a Teams app or on a planner board or on a SharePoint site. You can do it in lots of different ways, but it's another way that you can ensure that everybody involved has access to different ways of finding the same information. So if you've got people who have trouble hearing or trouble participating or can't join live, they don't miss out on seeing everything that went on. You can always make sure that you've got your content sent in lots of different forms. So you should always send a link if you've recorded it. You can always send the transcript. You could send a summary document as well, like your meeting minutes. But it's another way to make sure that everybody is able to get the most out of the session. So we've looked at 3 different ways that you can use your transcript in Teams to be able to get more out of it and be able to leverage your meeting in lots of different ways. We've looked at using it to create your meeting minutes. We've looked at it to repurpose as content in other aspects of your business, particularly social media and blog posts. And then we've looked at being able to make sure that it is accessible and inclusive so that people who are hard of hearing, unable to attend, or are a reader and not a visual or engaged person in that sense, are going to get the most out of the information that you're sharing. I've got a couple of last minute tips as well, particularly about working with the transcript. So the first thing is to remember that you need to always share your transcript with the link to the recording. So don't ever just send one or the other, try and send them together because otherwise they'll get lost. The second thing is to edit your transcript. So it will come out and be downloaded and it will just be a screen of lots of text. So be sure to do a proofread, get rid of the filler words, the ums, the ahs, the long pauses that kind of will appear as a ... Make sure that the names are correct, that the spelling is correct. So for me, coming from Australia, a lot of the language needs to be checked to be in Australian or UK English, where we spell things slightly differently to the US English. Things like Z's and putting U's in and using A's instead of E's in some words. So just be aware of that. It's always worth doing a proof of those things. And also add some context. So you can pop something at the beginning that explains the purpose of the meeting, who's in attendance, that sort of thing, or the key purpose of the session, or who's in charge and what the purpose of everybody who's there is. It's really good to have context so that when you're reading, the reader is referring back to that and has that as their point of reference. And the other thing is to think about whether when you're sending it, particularly for things like meeting minutes or for inclusivity, that you can add some images. So if you've got some diagrams, if you've got some screenshots of other things that you might have shared in the recording, it's always worth considering popping those in to the transcript as well. If you've got a PowerPoint presentation or something like that, then making sure that there's a link to that at the very least will help the transcript make a lot more sense to the person reading it at the end. So head into your settings in Teams and check out the transcripts. Make sure that you've got it set so that it will automatically transcribe, but you can always create a transcript after the session has finished as well, as long as you've got a recording for it to run from. So have a play in Teams, and if you've got any questions about working with Microsoft Teams and you would like to know more, get in touch. You can find me on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn and TikTok under Thrive Admin Services, and I'm always more than happy to chat with you about all things Microsoft 365.